Hey guys, this is Wayne from Wayne Goodman Photography and Wayne's Got Gas. I was doing a bit of a test before for my own purposes because I've got the Sony RX1R, as some of you will know from my other videos, and I wanted to compare that with the 35mm lens on that to the 35mm FE 2.8 that's on my A7R II currently, because they're the only two lenses that I've got the same focal length, and I wanted to see sharpness levels, things like that, because sometimes that's quite important for me personally. It's not really in the grand scheme of things, but I just like it. So while I was doing it, I was going up through the apertures, and then I thought I'll do an ISO test as well. So these are actually sort of just test images, all at f8, which I've got down here. They're all at f8 and they're different ISO levels. So I just thought I'd zoom in on a few of the areas, bring up the shadows a bit, highlights down. The image, as you can see, is basically exposed well, on the histogram. So I tried to keep it as level as possible. When I started getting up into the high ISOs, things changed a bit, but for the most part, it's very uniform. And I thought I'd just show you. So this is a ISO 100, this image, okay. The camera was set up on a tripod, and I just stuck a few different objects in front of it just so I can sort of, play about with things. They're by far from scientific, but they'll give you some idea, hopefully. So I thought if we zoom in at 3:1, okay, now my little Mac here is going to struggle possibly because of this recording software I'm using. It's just the QuickTime software. So, alright, let's do 1:1. Let's give it a bit of a chance. So 1:1 there, that's actually enough. On the A7R II, there's that many megapixels going on, it's fine anyway. So this is where I would expect to start seeing noise. So ISO 100, I can't actually see anything there at all. If I bring up the shadows, yeah, I mean, again, it's a very clean image that. There's not really anything to be worried about there. Maybe a slightest bit of noise interfering there if we come down to the detail tab and we just add a bit of noise correction. That's probably going to smooth that out. Well, it will do if I wasn't recording. Let's just try. Yeah. So, but I'm happy with that anyway. I mean, that's straight, into Lightroom from the raw file. This is the latest version of Lightroom, and it's designed to be optimized for the A7R II anyway. It knows about the camera basically. So we'll zoom back out there, and I'll just show you. I'll bring down the highlights as well. There's so much range in this camera on its sensor. It's quite crazy. I've never actually seen a camera that can do so much in terms of highlights and shadows. I'm quite impressed with it so far. Right, let's go to ISO 640 next. I thought I'd jump quite a bit because we know 320 is probably going to be right anyway. Just zoom in there, just let it all go sharp. I'm sorry about the speed. It is literally, I knew this QuickTime software would take its toll a little bit on the computer, but I just didn't know how much. Shadows up. So yeah, so now we're starting to see some noise creeping in when we bring the shadows right up. I mean, I personally don't always bring the shadows up 100% anyway, because you're going to get noise, but that gives you a bit of an idea. Don't forget this is, zoomed in at 100% as well, so you're not really going to be zooming in unless you're a proper pixel peeper, as they call people. So let's just see if I can get the noise reduction to work at all. Yeah, there we go. It's just done it now, and the noise has gone. I mean, I've bumped that way up 43. That's not sometimes too bad actually. It can usually take that. So noise mostly gone. If we started playing about with the color noise, I'm sure it'd be all gone. So again, amazing performance considering this is a 42 megapixel sensor, and that's bringing the shadows right up. We'll go to ISO 1600, and if I just zoom in, I was actually, just so you're aware of how I focused the lens, it was actually focusing on the NX of the NX 3000 area there. So this was about where it was. As it stands right now, you can see, I hope you can see my cursor, just in between the box and the set of screwdrivers there. There's just a little bit of noise there, but I mean, we are zoomed right in. If we zoom out, you're not going to see that. And again, I've not applied any noise to noise cancellation to this at all. Just brought up the shadows. Yeah, now we're starting to see some noise actually. So this is ISO 1600, but this is pushing the sensor to its limit, sort of thing. I would expect to see more than this in other sensors that I've had from different cameras. Go to 3200. Remember, this is only because I'm bringing the shadows out that you're seeing so much noise. For me personally, testing noise, usually I'll just zoom in on something and see how it looks. So ISO 3200, and yeah, there is a little bit there. It's not degrading the image terribly at this point at all. So I think we're going to see 6400 is maybe a limit, but that's still, I think I've read something about the 5DSR, which is the 50 megapixel camera from Canon. That's something like 1600 people are saying you shouldn't go above, so this is already, I'd be happy with this. I don't think this is particularly bad. And also, people talk about like the type of grain, like back in the film days you used to get grain on film, and people compare that now in terms of how it looks in a digital file when you get the noise, how it looks as grain. And for the most part, I'd be quite happy with that sort of level of grain. I think it's I'm not going to go into it like, oh, it's pretty and all that, but it does, it's not a terrible pattern. Some can look really coarse and not fine at all, and it can really intrude on the image. So we'll go to ISO 6400 now. Just wait shortly, and then we'll compare the 6400. So it's just about to do it, I think, hopefully. Yeah, so again, it's not, it's there, but it's, I'm personally quite happy with that. You're going to get noise at this level of sensor. The megapixels have a part of that, and a lot of cameras, produce noise at this sort of level of ISO. If you've got an A7S, you're probably not going to be looking too much at the noise of another camera anyway, because you've got pretty much the best thing ever for noise. But I think for me, a 42 megapixel camera that displays that amount of noise at ISO 6400, well, for me that's pretty darn good. Actually, I'm really impressed with that. I've left these images to look at for the first time now, because I want to be looking at them the first time that you look at them, to have an idea of how they look, and hopefully this will all show through properly on the video. We'll go to ISO 12800. Now this I am expecting to see loads of noise, loads of colour noise, and then we're going to 25600, where I expect it would be unusable. 25600 being the highest native ISO of the sensor. Right, so there we go. 12800 ISO. You can see it there. ISO 12800 ISO. From a distance, from looking at it zoomed out, that shouldn't be an issue. I didn't realise it'd do so well. Zoomed right in. If we try and zoom in a bit more, I mean, how far do you zoom in? That's actually 3:1. How far do you go on this? But personally, I think that's, if you had to use it, you'd probably be able to edit, the noise and not totally destroy the image. If you're using specific noise software, Noise Ninja, things like that, I'm sure that would hold up. And if we do right again, we'll go to 25600. Now that's unusable. We can see here we've got loads of sort of magenta cast to it. It's actually, sorry, I didn't realize the computer was still processing. The magenta cast is still there a tiny bit around this area of the darkest part of the screen. We can see though on this light area there is just noise. The flash here just looks grainy. I'm not sure you could do so much with this. I mean, again, my computer's probably not going to let me do too much here. I mean, normally what I'd do is I'd bring the sharpening up a little bit. I mean, look how bad that makes it. Oh gosh. Try and just remove some of the areas of sharpening and then bring that up to, say, 40, around that. Yeah, I mean, now you'd get away with that, wouldn't you? But at the same time, look how soft it is now. Yeah, it's gone softer. I mean, you could get away with it, surprisingly. So, I mean, for me, I'm happy. Everybody's subjective with things like noise. You might look at that and think, oh my God, that's absolutely shocking. I can't believe he's saying that's usable. But I've seen cameras at 25600 where there's bands of colour and, and things like that. And I'm not seeing any of that at all here. I'm actually, I'm amazed that it can look like that at this sort of level. Could really push it and try and bring the shadows out, which I've just done there, and the highlights down. Yeah, I mean, then look, oh my God, that's terrible. You're not going to do that, are you? But if you manage to expose the image correctly, which you should do, hopefully, and you just took it straight into Lightroom, that is the sort of thing you could end up with where, if we go back to here and we just drop the shadows, bring the highlights, and we go back, so that's ISO 100. If we go back to ISO 25600, at first glance, without zooming in, there aren't miles of difference. I think most people would agree. So that's my little noise test of the A7R II. This was using a 35mm f/e 2.8 lens. It was focused on the NX area of the image at f8, ISO 100, 640, 1200, 3200, 6400, and then 12.8 and then 25.6, on a tripod, trying to keep it as steady as possible, and that's the result. So I hope this video is useful. Please subscribe. I will be making more videos. I know that it's due to come out in America shortly, the camera, and people are getting really excited about it. So I'll do as much as I can to keep bringing you some videos about the system. And thumbs up, leave comments, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks.